Hello guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jane Onka and you're welcome to Jane by Design. So in this video we'll be learning how to draft the basic bodice pattern, and the measurements we'll be needing are the shoulder measurement, the armhole circumference, the bust circumference, the waist circumference, and the hip circumference, and also the bust span as well, and then the length of the blouse. And the materials we'll be needing are the pattern paper, straight ruler, tape, marker, French curve. So first off, I've gone ahead to divide my pattern paper into two, one for the back and the other for the front. And on that shoulder line, I've also gone ahead to draw 1 inch shoulder line. From that shoulder line, I've measured my bust point, which is 10 inches, my waistline 16 inches, and my hip line 25 inch. So I'll also go over to the other side to make sure that the measurements are accurate, and then I'll draw out the horizontal lines. And I've also gone ahead to measure, to label what each line is. So I'm going over to my shoulder line to mark my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 7 inch, that is 14 divided by 2, which is 7 inches. And on that shoulder line, I'll also be marking my neckline, which is 3. I'll be taking 3 inches for my neckline as well. And also on the neck depth, I'll be coming down by 4 inches. And then I'm going to draw a straight line to connect those points together and create a little box for my neck design. So at this stage, you can do whatever kind of neckline that you want. So I'm just going over with my marker to highlight the points that I've made, and also with my French curve to mark that neck design that I want. Now I'll go over to my shoulder line and then come down by 1 inch from that 7 inch point that I marked, and then mark 1 inch from that point. And then after marking 1 inch from that point, I'm going to connect it to my neckline to create the shoulder slope. Now that I've created the shoulder slope, I'll be creating my armhole depth. So you can get your armhole by measuring your armhole circumference, or you can divide your bust into 6 and add 1.5 inch to it. So I've divided my bust into 6 and added 1.5 inch to it, and then I'm going to impute the value that I got there, and then I'm going to rule out that line to create our chest line. So on that chest line, I'll be bringing down that 1 inch. That's my shoulder line that I marked. I'm going to be bringing it down to that chest line, so to create that armhole depth. So I'm just going over to make sure that the lines are perpendicular to each other, and then I'm going to be marking it down. Now that I have done that, on my chest line, I'll be imputing my quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 inch. You can add half an inch ease to it, but I'll be leaving that like this. So I'll be adding I'll be measuring my quarter of my bust measurement, which is 9 inches. I'll be marking it on the chest line, and then I'll go over to my armhole line and then divide that into 2. Whatever I have there, I'll go in by half an inch, and then I'll mark half an inch on that divided line, and then connect the 3 points together. So I'll connecting my shoulder slope line to the half an inch that I marked on my armhole line, and also to my quarter of my bust measurement on my chest line. So this is how you create the armhole for the front pattern. So I'm just going in with a straight ruler to make sure that the lines are okay and they correspond with each other. Now that I am done with this, I'll go over to my waistline. So to get the waist measurement, you divide your waist circumference by 4. So quarter of my waist measurement is 7.5, and then we'll add 1 inch for that, which is 8.5. So I'll be marking 8.5 on my waistline, and then I'll go to my hip line. Quarter of my hip line is 9.5, that is 38 divided by 4, quarter of my hip measurement, and then I will mark that as well. Okay, so after I have marked that, the next thing I'll be doing is to connect these 3 points together, and to do that I'll be using my straight ruler to connect the points together. Now if you have your French curve or your pattern masters or all those hip curve and the rest, you can use that, but you can also use a straight ruler to manipulate these lines. So I'm just going over to highlight the lines that I have drawn, and to make sure that they touch the point that I want them to touch. Now that I am done with this, I'm going to get my dart measurement. So for the dart, we are going to be using the bust span, that is your nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2, which is 4 inch. I'll mark it on the waistline, on my bust line, and also on my hip line as well. So on my hip line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches, and on the bust point line, I'm also going to come down by 1 inch. So this is just to make sure that the dart sits nicely on your dress or on your blouse when you are making it. So now that I have done that, I'm going to connect these 3 points together, and on the waistline, I'm going to be opening the dart by half an inch on both sides. That is on that 4-inch line that I just drew. I'm going to be opening the dart by half an inch on both sides, and then also connect it up to the bust point line that I created, and also down to the hip line as well. So I've just marked my dart, I've just created my dart for the front bodice, and this is what it's looking like. So now that I am done with this, the next thing I'll be doing is to just before I add my seam allowances, I will go over to my waist measurement and just smoothing out any points that I feel like it might be sharp. So we don't need sharp edges on our pattern, so I'll just go over to my waistline and just smoothing out that point. And then after that, I'll just add half an inch on my neckline, half an inch on the waist, on the shoulder line, on the armhole line, and then 1 inch on my side seam, and then 1 inch on the hemline. I've also gone ahead to label what this part is, which is the front, and make sure that when you are cutting this on your fabric, that you cut it on fold. All right, so also when you are drafting, also indicates that the front pattern is on fold. Now that we are done with the front, we'll go over to the back. I'm going to be adding zipper allowance to the back, so all the way down to that part of the paper, I'll be marking 1 inch for zipper allowance. Now the reason why I'm adding 1 inch for zipper allowance is to make sure that is to show you how you can remove the back bulge from your dress. You know that weird thing that goes wrong at the back of your dress when you're about to make your dress and you see it's a wavy kind of, doesn't really look good. So that's the back bulge. So the reason why I impute this zipper is to make sure that is to show you how to remove that back bulge. So basically what I'm doing here is what I did for the front is the same thing, just transfer all the measurements that we have done for the back to transfer all the measurements you have made for the front to the back. So basically the only difference between the back dart and the front dart is that for the back dart I came down from the chest line by 1 inch. That's just the basic difference. And also for the neckline of the back I came down by 1 inch to do that. That's just all. So for the armhole for the back, instead of going in by 1/2 inch like we did for the front, we're not going to do that. We're just going to connect it to the middle of to the midpoint of our armhole depth, and that's all. We've just created the armhole for the back. And then the next thing is just to add 1/2 inch seam allowance, and then the pattern is all done. So now after we are done adding this 1/2 inch seam allowance to this pattern, the next thing I'll be doing is I'll go over to the zipper line. So now we are going to eliminate that back body that I was talking about. So, and in order for us to do that, we are going to go over to the waistline, and then on the waistline we are going to take 1/2 inch from the waistline. So for the zipper we are going to go in by 1/2 inch on the waistline and then measure it up to the chest line. So from that waistline I've taken 1/2 inch and then I connected it to my chest line, and then I also brought it down to the hip line. So after I have done this, the next thing I will do is just to shaping out my zipper as well. You discover that after you have done this on your pattern and you transferred it to your fabric, and when you are about to insert your zipper at the back of your zipper, you discover that there's a big difference. Like the zip will curve with the back because you know the back is not straight, so it will just curve in the way the natural back is supposed to be. So I'm just going in to redraw the zipper line, and also to attach, and also to just highlight the points together and make sure that they are looking okay. So after I have done all of this, the next thing I'll be doing is just to go ahead and cut out the pattern. Alright guys, so now that we are done cutting out this pattern, this is what it looks like, the front and the back body. So I'm just going to label what the other part is, which is the back bodies, and make sure that you cut 2 of the back, and then the front bodies you're going to be cutting it on a fold. So thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you enjoy. I will see you in my next video. Please like, share, subscribe to my channel, and see you in my next video. Bye.